My name's Chris.
And I'm Kristie.
This is the Washing Up Podcast, and the winner of the Great Canadian Bake Off is everyone! Because it's Canada. And
I honestly thought at the end of it, Bruno and Rochelle were just going to go, the winner is everyone.
that was Rochelle, wasn't it?
Yeah, she was doing a German accent.
Yeah, lots of German. Just what you want out of the Frenchman.
Yes.
Is a German accent. Like World War II went differently than everyone thought it would. Anyway. So it was quite an interesting grand final.
It was.
I thought it was good. The only part of it I really loved, I loved that technical.
Yeah?
So
Why?
the technical I loved because I just thought it was brilliant in terms of the depth and the way that what they made them do for that was outstanding. The rest of it was good, don't get me wrong, but that was the bit that I loved.
But the thing is, if you look into it, the mousse cakes actually do, and they had to make 24 of them, 2 types of flavours. Like, they were pretty cool, and that was a real time management push as well. And wedding cakes are just beautiful, and it is a chance to make an actual showstopper, and I think it was appropriate for the first Great Canadian Bake Off.
It was quite good. So we get to the grand final, and of course we have 3 different bakers. We have Linda.
Yes, who is knowledgeable. She's been doing it for years. She's just consistent and versed in, she has strong skills, yeah.
We had Sabrina,
who is young and like skilled and talented and wears amazing shoes.
and then we had Vandana.
Vandana, Chris's favorite baker. Vandana, what's she baking today?
And of course Vandana, hailing from
Regina!
Experience Regina! We don't get to do it again, so we have to
Yes, we do.
Well, next series we do, but we'll come to
Yes,
that
we
in a minute.
do.
So, but for Vandana we don't, and that's a
No,
bit sad.
yeah.
So, the grand final, the signature was 24 mini mousse cakes. Now,
I will eat every single one of them.
Now, just so you know, in the 2016 Great British Bake Off,
Yes.
they did a challenge of 24 mini mousse cakes, 2 types. So it was the exact challenge from 2016 British Bake Off.
Yeah, but we know...
No, which is not a criticism.
No, because we know that everyone, picks and chooses bakes from around the world.
Yes,
and
we do.
it's shared. So, I think it was a good choice for this particular...
It was. I just like pointing out to people where they come from.
Oh, okay, no worries.
No, that wasn't a
It's been
criticism.
done before. Okay,
Because they're the Great Canadian Bake Off, and they are last in the run of shows to debut.
Yeah.
So if they couldn't make cakes that everyone else had made, they're fucked.
It's basically British did it, like Simpsons done it.
Yeah. So
did it.
what are we? So what are we going to make today in the show? I want you to make a mess. Just pile ingredients together and just you tell us what it is at the
Freestyle.
end. Freestyle.
Freestyle bacon.
What are you going to do today? Oh, whatever you feel like.
When they said you've got to make 24 mousse, I'd like to think that if Jude or Terry were there, they'd make little...
Actual mousse.
Actual mousse.
That would be... Look, again,
Terry's would look like a mousse and Jude's would have mousse in it.
Terry's would actually be a recreation. Jude's would be a recreation of mousse.
Yes.
Also with Terry's, actually, because as we know, her wildlife background does mean that she is very likely to recreate the mousse.
Exactly. And I think that while she's in Canada, she's probably been out conserving mousse.
There's probably been a lot of fundraising done from her mousses.
Mousse for mousse.
Mousse for mousse.
Or is that mousse for meese?
Mousse for mousse. So the 3 of them. So Vandana made passion fruit as one of hers, and then white chocolate mousse is the other.
Yeah.
Now her white chocolate mousse contained Thandai syrup.
Okay, so what is that actual syrup? Because it sounded delicious.
Yeah, so it's a sweeter syrup from the subcontinent region.
Okay.
So it's quite a sweetie sort of syrup.
Yum.
So, which Bruno was a great fan of, and really liked that flavour actually. What I also liked for Vandana was that she maintained her sort of, what she'd done all the way through. She altered the recipe for the mousse cakes.
Yep, to make it vegetarian.
Used agar rather than using gelatin. I don't mind that anyway because I have watched gelatin go sideways in every series of Bake Off and in MasterChef. And I'm over watching gelatin just like ruin people's lives.
She probably like picked up on that and went, okay, my vegetarian background is coming in handy for this. I'm sticking to it.
I don't have to
Seaweed
use it.
extract, here we come.
I don't have to use gelatin.
Yeah.
I just don't think that anyone should have to use gelatin ever for anything. I just... Not on an animal cruelty basis, although obviously there is that element to it.
Yeah.
It just ruins lives.
Yeah, it does.
I'd like to see like a public service announcement.
Yeah.
No. 1 out of every 5 kitchens suffers from gelatin disorder. It ruins lives, it breaks up families, and splits mousse cakes.
Do you like my PSA? Like,
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And then at the end, the more you know. So Linda, now... Look, I admire Linda for her moxie, but when the judges come over and go, what are you making? And Linda goes, I'm making a pineapple coconut. And they go, you know that pineapple, and before they finish, she goes, yeah, I know, pineapple has a habit of, it ruins gelatin.
Yeah.
And makes it all break down. But don't worry, I've come up with a solution. I'm going to use a layer of coconut, and the layer of coconut is going to protect it. It's going to be like a barrier.
Yeah. Well, it's true because I'm sure I've seen it in MasterChef that someone used pineapple to tenderize meat. And gelatin is a protein, so it makes perfect sense that was what would happen. And you don't want tenderized mousse. Unless you want to tenderize the other sort of mousse.
On a barbecue.
Oh, imagine that. Mousse kebabs with like your bit of, Cuban mousse. And then your pineapple and your
bison.
Capsicum.
That has to be bison.
And then bison, and then more mousse, and then some beaver. I presume they eat them.
No, not quite. Not quite. And then we finish off with a Mountie.
And it's soaked in maple syrup at the end. You just dip it in, drench it.
And wrapped in bacon.
Wrapped in bacon.
And served by the members of Degrassi Junior High. So... Okay. That was gratuitous Canadian references. We've avoided gratuitous Canadian the whole way through. That was gratuitous.
We need to get them all out now so that we can enter season 2 with some gravitas.
Since when have we ever had gravitas?
We put the arse in gravitas.
We do. We put the arse in gravitas. So, Sabrina... Mm-hmm. For her one, she went with blueberry apricot and strawberry mousse cakes.
I think it's amazing. She had to make 3 different flavours of mousse.
Well, she didn't have to. She did.
Yeah, she chose to make them.
She chose to make them.
She's like, bitches, I've got this. I'm making 3 different kinds.
Sabrina's done that a few times. There's a few things that repeated with Sabrina in today's one in particular. The making extra flavours than what she actually had to is one of those tropes that Sabrina went back to the well of time and time again. I mean, it served her quite well. I also have to mention her pom-pom earrings.
They were gorge. And, Dan loved them too.
I wasn't sure if they were originally pom-poms or if they were recreations of, Muppets.
Mm.
Like those sort of fluffy Muppets you see in the background. They're not quite sure. Like an homage to her favourite Muppet who's never mentioned.
Little Fraggle rocks. Maybe she just went and killed some Fraggles beforehand and just used them as earrings.
So we did that for those listening for the first time when the last series of MasterChef Australia ended. We replaced judges for MasterChef Australia with Muppets. Which went quite well. So we've got a history with Muppets on this show.
I've got a new entrant for that. The Trash Heap from Fraggle Rock.
Yep.
The trash heap has spoken. Just after the points have been dished out. The trash heap
has spoken. So we then had a couple of really fun things again. Linda had first not a fun thing, but a thing that happened was Linda had a bit of an uh-oh with her base. Mm-hmm. Sabrina had a little bit of an uh-oh with hers too, which was trying to peel them off and they were sort of sagging a little bit.
Apparently a bit of sugar at the bottom will stop that from...
Apparently, what I like about the judging today was they gave some really good advice.
Yeah.
That was excellent. Dan, of course, selflessly offered to taste the syrup.
Thank you, Dan.
On behalf of Canada, on behalf of the viewers at home.
On behalf of the whole world, you know?
Look, Dan is nothing if not selfless.
No, he should be up there for a Nobel Peace Prize, at the very least.
I think that's the minimum.
Very least,
you know? Minimum. Possibly as Trudeau's running mate. Anyway. So I also like the fact that at one point, and I don't know if anyone else spotted this, but I didn't, I giggled loudly to myself. Sabrina at one point, when she was trying to work out what she had to do next with her mini mousse cakes, sort of looked down at the bench and she's reading what she's got in front of her and she pointed to the fridge and it got very Staying Alive for a minute there. It was very Bee Gees.
Staying alive,
staying alive.
With mousse,
Mousse cakes, staying alive.
Roll with the potty on the dance floor.
We don't need the entrance version.
But that was my year. That was my formal year. When I graduated high school, that was like one of the songs.
By the way, for those people out there that asked for the all singing,
Or was it year 10?
That's you.
One of the two.
You asked for the all singing episode. Remember, that's what you're asking for.
You know, in my year 10 formal, like my mum is just a horrible, horrible woman, but I love her so much. It's okay. She's a lovely woman. Don't get me wrong. But when it comes to like
backpedal.
When it comes to actually doing things that I like, she's very opposite. So for my formal, she said she'd make me a dress. Brilliant. I wanted midnight blue, long skirt, short sleeves. No, Mum insisted I had great legs. So it was a short dress, long sleeves, in this insipid pale purple. It's quite horrendous.
What's with the short skirt and the long sleeves? Surely it's a short skirt and a long jacket.
No.
If Cake have taught us nothing else, and they haven't, short skirt, long jacket.
Mum just didn't quite know how to deal with like a slightly chubby teenager because all her and her sisters had been like skinny minis, and my younger sister and my older sister also very skinny. So Mum thought you had to cover up the bad spots to make me look good.
Cover up the arms to show off the gams.
Yeah.
So
take a look at these gams.
look at these gams, eh?
I should have gone into the Charleston.
I'm starting to think you went to school in the 1920s. Anyway,
Well, I am a little older than you.
then Linda
I just didn't
doubted.
say how many decades.
Then Linda doubted her idea and decided to use the freezer to set. And as we saw in the we'll get to it in the judging, didn't work.
No, but it's delicious flavours though, and her mousse was really
the flavours
good.
were good, but we'll get to what happened in a minute. So Sabrina's held, and everyone's like, "Oh yay!" And then Vandana's held, and everyone went, "Yay!" And then Linda removed the first lot of acetate around the outside, and it just fell straight over.
And it was in slow motion, and it wasn't slowed down. It was just how
But the first one went, and then she went, "Oh, that one went," and then the rest of them all went, "Oh, good idea," and like it all fell different angles. It was like great. None of them fell in the same direction. It was like, it was like powering down.
It's like when kittens just go to cuddle together with their newborn, and they just all cuddle together. One starts sleeping, the others just pile on top.
I just like the idea that it was like they all had batteries in the bottom of them. And again, someone just pulled all the batteries out. Does not compute. So they all fell over at once, and then she removed the acetate off the other side, and they all fell over. It looked like if it had been a bit shorter, they might have held.
Yeah.
But especially with the passion for the
really tall ones.
The really tall ones that she had. With the cherry chocolate were the first ones. The pineapple, which were the ones they were worried about, possibly even would have held a little bit if they'd been shorter. She made them very tall. And the second, there was no chance. And those ones didn't go in slow motion.
No.
Those ones were like, timber!
We're going down.
I'm yelling, timber!
Oh, we could have gone, I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. It's just
We could have.
chopping down Linda's mousse all day.
And Linda knew too. Like she looked at it and just went, too tall. And then they got to the judging. So with the judging of them, so we'll start with Linda.
Yes.
They said the mousse bounced back well underneath the melting. They said there was possibly too much coconut on the barrier. So actually they said all you needed was a bit of desiccated coconut. You didn't need to do a very thick layer of coconut, which didn't help her. They said the flavours were good, but of course it wasn't going to hold.
Yeah.
Sabrina. They said the decoration was really pretty.
Yep.
The strawberry mousse held really well, but Bruno argued that it needed a little bit more sweetness.
Yep. And there was just a little bit of tilting on a couple of them because of the sponge.
Yeah, and that was
stuff?
Yeah, they said her second
Sponge cake.
Her sponge cake.
You call this stuff on top?
Icing sugar.
No, it was mousse.
Oh, it was mousse. So the second one had stuck a little bit, the sponge had stuck a little bit, and that impacted them. And you saw that at one point where she had to put the spatula under and flip it over because it had fallen on its ass. And I loved that the basic feedback was it was creamy but not blueberry enough.
Damn it.
Like, it's only a blueberry apricot. So now Vandana, they said the passion fruit split a little, and Bruno went, "Yeah, I've used agar a lot, and
Didn't quite combine the cream.
It does that."
Yeah.
You know, that was what Bruno wasn't worried about that. He sort of said, "Yeah, look, it's a problem with agar. It's very tricky to not split with the cream."
And you can't really take points off Vandana for that like, okay, I'm sure there's a technique that you need to learn to do it and achieve it and some skill there. But she's vegetarian.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's hard to like...
It's also hard to ask her to have to make something that's not.
Yeah.
That's tricky. The cookie base, they said, was excellent, but possibly a little bit too firm.
Yes.
However, again, her flavour was outstanding on the passion fruit. The complaint about the white chocolate one was they said it was closer to a cheesecake than a mousse.
Yeah.
You know, but they said the flavour, again, incredible. And that's the thing we've learned about Vandana all the way through is that her flavours are just sensational.
Yes, yes.
So,
but Linda was called, you know, ugly but delicious.
Yeah.
She's taking up James's mantle.
She's taking up James's mantle and running with it.
Yeah.
And I love Linda's... I've got to bring my A game. So, and the A game...
I wouldn't like to be against Linda like in like a card game or something. Like
She'd kill you.
She looks very competitive.
She'd smile. She'd be so lovely and warm, but she'd be shivving you. Like,
behind your back.
You'd lose a kidney and you wouldn't notice.
No.
Like, you'd be sitting...
She'd be in the kitchen frying it up.
You'd be sitting at the table going, what a lovely person. And you'd reach down to sort of scratch your back and go, where's my kidney? And, like, she'd be off going, oh, I just found this. You know,
I'm just making a pie. Steak and kidney pie.
And you'd be like, I'll have some of that. That'd be nice.
Well, it's yours. What?
So the technical. Okay, so I love the technical.
Yes.
All right. I've joked all the way through this, and I said I knew what happened in the series, but I didn't read what the last run of bakes were. I knew who won, but I didn't read it. So I didn't know that the technical was Pear Charlotte.
Well, we have contemplated whether or not the pear is the fruit of death.
That's the thing. I've referred to it as the fruit of death.
So it is good that they saved it for the end when everyone has to leave the shed anyway.
Exactly.
I mean,
So-
the pavilion.
Yes, the pavilion. So they used the fruit of death. They said Pear Charlotte. I saw three very confused individuals. Everyone going,
Charlotte.
anyone know what this looks like? No. No. Don't have a clue what this is supposed to look like, really.
Well, I do remember when they made it in Great British Bake Off, they gave the history of it like being made for the Princess Charlotte.
Yes, they gave you the full backstory.
The one that died.
Yeah. Which well, no, let's celebrate the fact that she died, commemorate her life by making a sort of tall dessert with layers of pear.
I thought celebrating her birth, but anyway, she died, and because she died, we got Queen Victoria eventually. So that's how it happened.
So that's something.
Yeah. That's a bit of a concession to a sad story.
You're doing really well.
You're welcome.
Positive.
Could you imagine though, right? If Princess Charlotte had survived to go on like whatever, the Australian states and the statues around Sydney would be very different. So we have a whole state called Victoria. It would be called Charlotte, I'm presuming, or whatever her consort's name was. And Queensland, we still have Queensland.
And she was a king and no one knew it.
Yeah. But we wouldn't have, in Sydney, right, there's a big Queen Victoria building, so that would be the Queen Charlotte building. And there is a fountain of Queen Victoria's little dog. We wouldn't have that.
We wouldn't have right-wing media commentator John Laws doing the voice of the dog.
Oh, which has been shut off because it got too fucking annoying.
It was really annoying when you walk past.
Ralph,
It tells the story.
Ralph.
It tells the story, and then it's like, if you give me a coin, I will bark. And you throw a coin and it goes, woof, thank you. It's the weirdest monument ever. Like, everyone else has really cool monuments, and we've got a dog that goes, woof, thank you, with a right-wing commentator's voice on it. It's great.
Although in Thomas Street in Ultimo in Sydney, in the UTS grounds, there's this beautiful little statue of a cat, because it was the college cat. Oh, I can't remember his name. Someone rather than the college cat who died, and they erected a little statue of it. It's very cute.
Did they erect a statue of it, or did they just put the cat inside the concrete and have it put up as a statue?
Either or. It looks great.
Either way. Now,
ideas for our cats.
That is, of course, for all of those people who want to go and visit.
Alive.
For all those people who would like to go and visit Sydney, of course, we live in miscellaneous city, not Sydney. Could be near Sydney. Who knows?
Could be Sydney.
Not me. Could be near miscellaneous Sydney. It could be Sydney. Could possibly not be Sydney. Who knows?
We do. But we're not...
We got out of that.
Okay, yeah.
No one knows.
No. Flawless.
That was absolutely seamless. Oh, is this microphone still on? Oh, shit. Anyway, I loved it because it was fucking brilliant. It was tricky. It had, and as they said, the judges said, every element is something. There is an element here that everyone has fucked up at some point.
Oh, yeah.
So I loved Sabrina when they went poach the pears. And she was, I only poached an egg. And that was 2.5 minutes.
I really hope afterwards they got to drink some mulled wine because it looked a bit chilly because I saw Julia walking around in a jumper that day.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping...
I'm quite sure that Dan got a bit.
Of course. But all the crew, cigarette, because it would make a beautiful mulled wine after you got spices, pear in it. Oh, yeah. And then, I'm sure, that with like a slice of the pear charlotte would be like delightful.
Pick the pagan. Oh, the mulled wine will be wonderful.
Mulled wine.
Then we nearly lost Sabrina to the kitchen floor. And it was bad because they left it in you could hear the crew go,
yeah, because she's carrying it across as well.
The foot goes, and she almost does the splits and looks behind her, and everyone goes, she goes, almost. I saved it.
That's how you know she's a winner. She's like, wet floor. Obviously, it was leaking through the tent. The rain must have been that bad.
I can't believe, though, that like the next day after that, then she wore the sort of spangly, strappy, like higher heels, which if you notice by the time they got to the judging, she was back in her spangly, spectacular flats again.
Yeah.
More solid footing. But I wouldn't have turned up in anything with a heel on it, given you'd almost fallen over the day before.
No, looks are one thing, but comfort is paramount,
There was a lot more gelatin in the technical.
There was indeed.
They had to use the gelatin in this case. So
making the Bavarian cream.
Yes, the bavois.
Yes,
so there was a bavois. So this involved pear, it involved lady fingers, and it involved a bavois.
Yes, I was hoping it wouldn't turn into a bavois.
Well done. So, more importantly, it involved a custard, which is always a bitch. As Linda found out
when it split.
When she curdled the damn thing.
On the upside, the crew got to eat some like sweet scrambled eggs.
Great scrambled eggs, anybody?
Whack some maple syrup on top. You won't notice.
So they put out the lady fingers, put them in the oven. They got everything out of the oven, and then we got a great Vandana line where she got everything out. And the bowl and went, okay, so how does this go?
It really is a baking Jenga set. Oh, sorry, Lego set.
And then when
see, oh my gosh, imagine if Lego released like a baking bake-off set. You had all your little different hosts and judges, and you mix them up. You could build the pavilion, you could build the shed, you could build the tent.
That'd be brilliant. Lego, if you're listening, 10%. So we had, at one point where they were like asking, and I think it was Sabrina at one point.
Custom Lego, maybe we can do it.
Maybe, that might be an idea.
Lego Mary Berry.
That might be an idea. So there was one point where, I can't remember, I think it might have been Sabrina who was asking, and Julia's looking at it, she goes, you're trying to read in my face what it's supposed to look like, aren't you? I'm not giving it away.
Julia's probably going, I have no fucking idea.
Julia's like, no clue. Then we had, again, every episode has to feature a moment. Mm-hmm. And this one had 3 of them. We already mentioned the first one. His second one. Dan walks over. Sabrina is stressfully trying to put together her pear charlotte. And Dan walks over and grabs one of the pears and goes, is this for me to try? And then he ate the pear, which he went, sure. He ate the pear and he goes, if you need a boost of confidence, that's delicious.
You know what? Next season, Dan, just grab yourself like saucers, right? Have a stack of saucers, and on everyone's bench, just leave a little saucer and just write your name on it so they know where to leave the stuff for you to try.
He needs to watch some more Mel Buttle, and so he can just learn her move of where does the food go and point to the mouth.
Alternatively, leave some toothpicks around and anything he can eat, just put a toothpick.
Like the Simpsons.
Like the Simpsons.
Anything that's on a toothpick is free. So they pulled them out. They put them out of the molds. Mm-hmm. All of them held. And we got Sabrina's, one of my favourite Sabrina mantras of the whole series, which was she'd do a technical, turn around and go, well, I don't know how this happened. That was her mantra for the technicals, where she'd do something she'd never heard of and go, I don't know how that happened. Like, she came first on one of them. It's like, I don't know.
She's just naturally brilliant.
So Vandana's was well presented. It had a few cracks on the outside, but it was holding, so that was fine. Mm-hmm. The filling was good, but unfortunately they said her cream had set slightly early.
Yeah.
Linda,
pears were perfect.
They said it was the perfect cream, perfect pears. The layers were great.
Yes.
Sabrina. Now, something else. I said before that Sabrina had a few things that had happened a few times.
Yeah.
She had some grain in the cream again, which happened a couple of episodes ago.
Stop sprinkling glitter in it. It might look pretty. Doesn't taste so
It's
good.
the difficulty of breaking down the gelatin, which is always a problem.
I like to think it was glitter.
I'd like to think it was glitter too. And they said it was nearly like bubble tea. That's what I was going for. I was going for bubble tea.
Asian influence, really into it.
But the sponge was really good. So Vandana came third, Sabrina came second, and Linda came first.
Absolutely well deserved. And at this point, it basically makes them all even-ish.
They really were, because Linda had a very bad first bake.
But Sabrina was in a good position in that she'd come second in the tank noodle, did really good in the...
Sabrina went into the third challenge
signature.
Knowing that I think if she didn't fuck it up...
She was pretty solid.
Probably one of the others would have to do something...
Absolutely spectacular.
Spectacular.
Yeah.
So, the showstopper.
Now, let's just pause here for a moment to just admire everyone, how they looked. Okay, so Julia's beautiful pale pink, Dan's beautiful powder blue. I mean, I liked it because he was in
with
powder blue,
shoes.
white, and with pink shoes, but with the powder blue, white, and black tie, which is essentially Cronulla Sharks colours, so I know which team he goes for. But they
no
both...
one in Canada knows what you mean.
They looked amazing, but they still looked like they were heading to a baby shower.
Yeah.
But Rachel's dress. I was going to call her Rachel.
Rachel, look, it's just in keeping with the series.
All right, so Michelle's dress was beautiful, and Raheem.
What about Raheem's suit? It was great.
Just looked
without the tie.
He looked very dapper.
He was the formal yet casual uncle.
He was. He's like the rich uncle that flies in, jets in for
you
the
see him at the bar,
yeah,
and then he goes away.
He
drops some money on the way out the door. Here you go, have some money, kids.
Yeah. And then off to his dubious business.
The one that you don't know exactly what he does. Yeah. I also loved, there was a really fun moment, I don't know if it was deliberate or not, but when they were talking about the wedding cake, so it was a 3-tiered wedding cake. And they were talking about the 3-tiered wedding cake, and Sabrina goes, I'm here with my girls, and it's fun, because this is such a girly little challenge. And the next thing you heard was Bruno talking about, I've made so many wedding cakes, I've lost count.
Yeah, I do find it interesting how, like, we gender weddings as if they're a thing just like the bride's all into. But quite frankly, like, I see a lot of guys getting into it too. Like, friends of mine had a Viking themed wedding.
Yeah, they did.
And he was very, and they had their dogs there. There's other geek friends of ours who've had like kind of geeky thing, like Star Wars themed weddings and stuff.
If you check out our Instagram, at Washing Up Pod, ours was Bake Off themed.
Yeah, and that wasn't me pushing for it.
No, that was sort of a joint decision. Yeah. And it's the cake is representative of the shed, as we mentioned a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
So go and have a look at those photos, by the way, at Washing Up Pod. There's plenty of wedding photos there. Hashtag Washing Up Wedding, if you want to have a look on Instagram. It's still there, and you can still dig up all the wedding photos. Looks incredible. So, Linda. So Linda turns around and she's making something based off her own wedding cake. She went with 6 tiers.
Because why fuck 3?
Why the fuck not? Linda turns around, and one of my favourite sentences that has been spoken in the series, everybody loves carrot cake. Well, not everybody.
No.
So she goes, everybody loves carrot cake. Well, not everybody. It's like, well, okay, so just backtrack that entire statement then. You've just said nothing.
I just wish, Jude came in and just gave her, 2 little sculpted bunny toppers for it. Just add a little touch of whimsy to her elegance.
A little bit of whimsy.
And her and her husband been married 45 years.
That's brilliant.
She's like fucking Wonder Woman. She's the domestic
goddess. Loved her daughter. I never had a store-bought dress until year 5.
Either did I, but it was more because we're getting hand-me-downs in a second-hand clothing store. And some atrocious things Mum made, I swear, that she'd made. Don't get me wrong, I do love my mother.
This podcast is where we work out issues.
There's a lot of therapy.
This is where we work out issues.
Got into the relationship. So, so...
I can claim this podcast back on Medicare.
He can. So, back at the ranch, there's Linda, this domestic goddess. The next thing you see is, a picture of her out fishing, just...
It's like, and the first comment of her husband... I can't get her to sit down. It's awesome. Yeah. Sabrina decided to do something a bit different, and she went with champagne rather than milk or water.
Much to Dan's delight.
Oh, so the scene of them, again, we always talk about Dan, as I said, first round, second round, the third round, he and Sabrina in mixing jugs have the pink champagne and do the linking arms and sort of drinking it like that.
Mm.
Dan's just he's mastered the ability to steal food and drink from the shed.
Yes.
From the
I think it's
pavilion.
steal. It's more he knows how to get his offerings.
The offerings of Dan.
The offerings of Dan, you know.
And
libations.
And
in his face.
And again, there was a nonna alert. There's always a nonna. Sabrina had a big nonna alert there as well.
There was.
And then Vandana. So based off her wedding cake.
I loved it.
So she went with 4, and they were not tiered in terms of stacked up on each other. They were on individual plinths. And they had a sari pattern over the top of them. Oh. And she used the mirror glaze technique that she'd learned earlier in the series.
It was divine. And the icing sugar done in red with that gold stencil pattern on it. It just looked so luscious. Oh.
And she did red velvet too.
That's true, yeah, with the
cream cheese. So we're going to talk about that. So Sabrina did the traditional buttercream. However, Vandana and Linda both did cream cheese, which made a lot of sense, especially for Linda, because Linda's making a carrot cake.
Yeah.
So it's perfectly normal that you go with the cream cheese frosting.
And the same with the red velvet as well.
You have the cream cheese cuts through the really strong
sweetness.
Yeah, I have once done a red velvet, and I didn't do a frosting that was designed to cut through that. Really strong.
And then you made a red velvet half watermelon.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, that was in response to, because Christmas time, my mum decided, because my uncle / stepfather is diabetic. My mum married my dad's older brother. Anyway, she'd make a fruit cake, like literally out of fruit, just chopped up fruit, assembled to look like a cake, and it was like a watermelon base. And so she's like, I'm making a watermelon cake. So Chris decided to make a cake that looks like a watermelon.
So I went out, I got the round tins, I got choc chips, I got red velvet, I put the choc chips in the middle of it, put it all in the oven, put it in the oven, turn the oven on, oven broke. Halfway through the baking. So the bits that I could eat that were cooked
were really nice.
Unfortunately, it was runny in the middle. Didn't quite work. It was a water cake in the middle. It was kind of impressive.
Watermelon smoothie.
For the last time for me to get to say this.
Yes.
Linda turned around and went, I like to make my own fondant. Of course you do, Linda. Of course you do. Everyone else is like, no. Linda's like, I make my own fondant all the time. Sabrina's like, every time I've used fondant, it's cracked.
I like to think that one of her grandchildren is lactose intolerant, so she just makes her soy milk from scratch. Like she's just
she's got an almond mill at the back to make almond milk. So I loved Dan as well. So Linda is doing the construction, so she's getting all the dowel and cutting all the dowel off and like sawing, and it was like a full production.
And it was like retro-tastic. Like it was beautiful with the columns and everything.
So she's doing all this sawing. She's got the goggles on at one point. They cut back, and there's Linda like woodworking and whittling. And Dan goes, do you need any woodwork from me, Linda? And she's like, no, I think we're fine. And then
what we didn't see is that she'd set up a pergola out the front. Like she'd done that, and then she'd just set up a pergola for the guests for tomorrow, just in case it rains.
So Sabrina had what she referred to as luster dust.
It sounds like something you get at an adult shop.
Hey everybody, spice up your life with luster dust.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I bought some once, and it was marshmallow flavored. It was very nice.
But I love them, like doing the, oh, look, it's great for foundation.
The contouring and highlights.
That was around the same time that Sabrina went, I'm sorry, I tried to be classy, it doesn't work, and threw her shoes as far as she could across the pavilion. Now, I also, at this point in time, as we got to the countdown, you had Rochelle and Bruno sort of lurking in the corner. A couple of great shots of a wandering Bruno just towards the end.
You're just doing some Kate Bush in the background.
So that finished. That finished the baking. And then we got to, and we have to have a bit of a discussion because they do the garden party.
Yeah.
Now, it looked wonderful. It looked so good to see everybody. Everyone looked great.
Yeah. And oh my God, Vandana's little son is just so adorable.
And everyone looked great, and the party looked like it was a really fun party. But this is where we have to raise something, and we have to be a bit parochial here and sort of go, Australia does it better.
Only because we've got the interaction. The shed opens up onto the garden party.
So in
you can look in
British
and see
Bake Off,
doing, yeah.
in British Bake Off, the tent is a long way away from the party.
Yeah.
In Canadian, it's down the hill, so it's not quite where the pavilion is.
Yeah, and there's a deck in between.
There's a deck in between as well.
And I think having people on a deck while you're trying to film would be horrendous because you'd have so much noise.
What the benefit is for the Great Australian Bake Off, as Kristie just pointed out, is that the sides of, and for anyone wondering, we talk about this, we were at the grand final for Great Australian Bake Off for season 4, and which was, you know, the most recent series that had aired in Australia, and that was an amazing thing to get to go to one of those. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
And the sides of the shed open up.
Yep.
So you get... Now, Robert Harwood from that series has talked about the fact that it's a bitch to bake in because you get crosswinds. And because it's a temporary shed, the floor vibrates and the doors open a little bit. But from a television point of view,
it's beautiful.
Everyone gets called up to the side of the shed and you get to interact with the bakers, you get to interact with the judges, you get the crowd right there watching them cook the end of it.
You get Antonio's nonna, you know, telling him that as long as he's smoking okay, as long as it's the correct
Antonio
brand.
from season 3, who was a 17-year-old, and Mel told the, you know, he's been smoking, and he's not as like, as long as it's the right brand. So you get these really great little interactive moments with family and friends and the other bakers all come in to watch, and you get to watch the last part of the process.
Yeah.
And it is genuinely wonderful to get to do. And I feel like they lose a bit of that because they're so far away. Yeah, they've got this bigger area to sort of play in, but I think that you'll lose a lot of the sense of occasion of that because you're so far away from it.
And there's no, you know, that excitement building when you see, like in the Australian,
there's a countdown
there's
and
a
everything.
countdown, and there's also like they can see when people arrive, and
and in the background while they're doing the judging, you can see people over the shoulder, sort of, you know, milling around and saying hello to people and playing and having fun. And there was a carousel.
Smashing cake into each other's faces.
Smashing cake into each other's faces. And Canadian bakers, can I just suggest to you guys,
get a carousel.
Get a carousel.
And then put the judges on it because it's hilarious.
Yeah, put the judges on a carousel. I'd love to see Bruno on a carousel.
Whee!
I would love
Bruno,
to see...
come back to the pavilion. Whee!
So, that's too much fun. So, get a carousel. It's wonderful. So, we got to the judging. So, they said Vandana told an excellent story. The only problem they had with that was that she hid the design with flowers. It was like, you've done this brilliant design. Don't put flowers on top of it. Put them to the side.
Yeah.
The cake was smooth. They said it was very well layered. Great balance of flavours.
Absolutely, yeah.
Linda. Now, as Bruno said, it's a carrot cake. It's a very good carrot cake, but it's a dry carrot cake.
Yeah.
Because she put 6 cakes in the oven at once.
I think if her cake was on point, it would have made the decision very difficult between herself and Sabrina.
Possibly, although, again, I think that the mistakes that happened in the first round had put Linda
True, actually, yeah.
I honestly think it was between
Vandana and Linda.
And Sabrina. And now, Sabrina, they said it looked amazing. They said that the berry flavour was amazing. The texture was great. They said the only issue was they couldn't really taste champagne.
There was only a hint of it there.
Yeah, but everything else was great.
And can we just point out, like, Sabrina has taken on all of their feedback and stuff, particularly around, like, the decoration. Her decoration...
They've pushed her hard.
Fucking amazing.
The last couple of weeks, they've pushed her hard and sort of pointed out the fact that they thought she was coasting. And we sort of said that as well. There were moments where you could see that she was not trying, but she wasn't pushing as hard as she could.
Yeah, like you saw everyone kind of step out of their comfort zones and
it was
boundaries.
The gingerbread. The gingerbread was the one where, like, Linda's learning new techniques, and like James had the solar panels, and and she had an entire bareback of her building, and they said it's brilliant. And the size is amazing, and the flavour's good. Push.
No one wants a bareback building.
Exactly, no one wants a bareback building. So let that sit for a moment, people. So Sabrina wins, and fair enough too. It was
absolutely
any of them could have won. To be honest with you, it wouldn't have been a problem.
And the cutest thing was when Vandana's little boy comes running up to see his mummy. Oh, it was so cute.
Kristie does get very emotional at the end of Bake Off.
I started crying like. Probably when Linda was getting judged, that's when it started. And then as it was coming to being announced and that pause, then the tears started. But I love that they all got bunches of flowers.
It was lovely.
And then when they announced,
She was gone.
Floodgates opened. There we go.
So,
Kristie pouring out my face.
Kristie does get very emotional in the bake-offs, which is fair enough too.
And
it's such a lovely
MasterChef
show.
if I'm invested.
If you're invested. You didn't cry last year.
No, I didn't. I yelled a lot.
We all yelled a lot. So, the only thing we can sort of say at the end here before we wrap up the season in general, there's one thing we also suggest you add that Australian does quite well.
Yeah.
At the end of the grand final in Australia, they have
and Great British as well.
They have what happened since the finale, ... And they go back through every single baker on what they've been doing.
Yes, and that's another tear moment. So
it's a tear moment, it's a laughter moment. It's a great moment to wrap up the sort of humanity of these bakers.
Yeah.
And the one thing we say about Bake Off all the time is the humanity of it is just overwhelming.
Absolutely. And I have to say the production of the Canadian one has been beautiful.
Oh, it's been wonderful. They've done a great job with it.
There's been a lot of love and care that's put it together, and it's, carrying on the bake-off tradition beautifully.
I feel that with one season under their belt, I feel they'll push the next season really
absolutely.
Because they've learned a lot. And again, if you go back and watch the first season...
Of Australian.
Well, watch the first season of Australian Bake Off, realise it was made by a different network and different people.
Oh, don't watch that one.
Start with the second series of Australian Bake Off if you get access to it somehow through the ether.
Yeah.
Start with the second series of Australian Bake Off. It's really well done, but you can see in the third and the fourth the growth of that show.
Yeah.
And the fourth in particular is one of the best shot television shows I've ever seen. And I'm not talking about cooking shows. I'm just talking about well-shot television. It's high definition. It's high resolution. There's amazing cinematography. There's great angles. It's really well put together.
But I can also tell, this is a new show in Canada.
And put together with love.
And they still had to balance the risk of if it was not going to work for that particular audience. And I really am glad to see that we got a second season out of it. That's starting next week.
So that's the reason why we've rushed this. We were going to take our time with this. We originally planned to do the one episode, maybe two a week, but one episode a week, and we'll do this just to get to British. When British Bake Off comes onto Australian television, yes, we know it's happening. We're waiting for it to come to Australia because that one does come to Australia.
Yeah.
So we're waiting because the bulk of the audience is here. But we will be doing, for those people asking, and I have been asked, we will be doing British Bake Off. It'll just be a couple of weeks behind. Yeah. However, we can now officially say the ether seems to be kind. We will be doing season 2 of the Great Canadian Baking Show.
And I really hope that at some point we get it in Australia. So So
the ether doesn't have to supply.
No, exactly.
That would be wonderful.
And we can see it, a broader audience can see it because it's a fantastic show and it fits in well with the Australian Bake Off and the Great British Bake Off. It's flawless.
Yeah, it fits in absolutely perfectly.
Yeah.
So hopefully it gets aired. We're also not necessarily finished with season 1. In fact, I can guarantee you we are not finished with season 1 just yet.
No.
We have a few bits and pieces that will be coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, unfortunately we can't do it this week because I'm away from Friday through to next Monday.
But we have a few things in the pipe. So, and people who listen to us a lot will know that when we say we've got a few things lined up, stay tuned.
Yes.
We usually bring up something pretty good. I would also suggest, if you have thought about going back and listening through the archives, I mentioned this before, and I mentioned this in the last episode, go and listen to, I recommend, the last series of Great Australian Bake Off, our podcast version. Go and listen to the Bake Off Ashes. Yes. Because at the end of the next series of Canadian, British, and Australian, we are going to put together the Commonwealth Games. So this will be happening after the next 3 series go to air.
All we need to do is to start working on all the Commonwealth countries to get a bake-off happening.
That'd be great. I mean, it's going to be a lot of work for us, but...
Bake-off Tuvalu.
Bake-off Tuvalu will be wonderful. Of course, the problem is with climate change being a thing, we've got to work fast.
Yes.
Because they may not be there for too much longer.
Bake-off New Zealand. Oh, kia ora. Welcome to Bake Off.
Choice, eh?
Choice, eh?
It's cooked as, bro. Anyway, so... This has been wonderful, and this has been a delight that we weren't expecting.
No.
It has been spectacular. Thank you to everyone in Canada who has listened in particular, and a massive thank you to the Canadian bakers.
You guys are spectacular. I thought that, we might get a couple of look, isn't that quaint? The Aussies have found us.
We had no idea.
And
how
guys
you would
are
receive us.
just as amazing. Like, I have to say, Bake Off shows just get the best contestants.
They're
hands
amazing.
down.
They're amazing.
And some MasterChef shows.
Yeah, we've met some really cool people on the MasterChef shows, obviously, and you can go through our archives and find those out. But Bake Off is a different breed, and even a lot of the people we speak to with MasterChef sort of say Bake Off's a different breed.
Yeah.
And it really is the nicest show on television, and the Canadian version is the nicest version of the nicest show on television.
Which again, I said to you, I literally think the ending is going to be
everyone wins.
Everyone wins.
So
even the children. Cameraman, you win.
It's no surprise that the company that owns the format is called Love Productions, is it?
Yeah.
So with that, thank you very much for listening to this insane little show from Australia. Until the next time, which will not be that far away.
Yes.
I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Kristie.
We will catch you all later.
Ciao.